We're live from New Delhi. You're watching DD India News, India's voice to the world. I'm Lipakshi Khurana. Coming up in the next hour. Israel and Hamas trade blame over violations of ceasefire deal. Hamas says committed to hand over all bodies of the hostages, but some may be buried under the debris. Trump threatens action if killings continue in Gaza. Trump talks to Putin ahead of meet with Zelensky, touting progress in Russia-Ukraine peace talks to meet Putin in Hungary in next 2 weeks. U.S. Chamber of Commerce sues the Trump administration over $100,000 H1B visa fee, terms it unlawful as it overrides provisions of the Immigration and Nationality Act. Madagascar coup leader Michael Rajoelina to sworn in as president as African Union suspends the island nation. UN condemns and urges return to constitutional order. Prime Minister Modi to meet visiting leaders from Sri Lanka and Egypt. Deliberations to focus on strengthening bilateral ties and investments. And on to the details now. Israel said on Thursday it was preparing for the reopening of the Gaza's Rafah crossing with Egypt to let Palestinians in and out, but set no date as it traded blame with Hamas over violations of a US-mediated ceasefire. Now, dispute over the return of hostages' bodies held by Hamas threatens to derail the truce and other unresolved elements of the plan, including disarmament of the militants and Gaza's future governance. Israeli government spokesperson Shos Bedrosian told reporters that Israel remained committed to the agreement and continued to uphold its obligations, demanding Hamas return the bodies of the 19 deceased hostages it had not handed over yet. Hamas has handed over 10 bodies, but Israel said one was not that of a hostage. Hamas said it remained committed to the Gaza agreement and to handing over all the remaining bodies of hostages, but that returning the remains may take time as some were buried in the tunnels. On Thursday, a senior Hamas official accused Israel of flouting the ceasefire by killing at least 24 people in shootings since Friday and said a list of such violations was handed over to the mediators. Meanwhile, U.S. President Donald Trump on Thursday warned that further U.S.-backed intervention could be necessary if Hamas fails to uphold its ceasefire commitments in Gaza. Trump added that additional bodies of hostages held by Hamas were returned to Israel.
Well, I'm looking at what's happening, and that wasn't the deal that was made, and we'll see what happens. It's calmed down. It's a tough neighborhood. We know that. We have a commitment from them, and I assume they're going to honor that commitment. I hope they do. And I understand they brought back some additional bodies today. It's a rough deal when you think of it, right? Very rough. We have our hostages back completely. We were very lucky with that. But it's a tough situation. They brought back bodies today, as you probably know. But they also said they're going to behave. We're going to find out if they behave. If they behave good, if they don't behave, we'll take care of it.
Well, U.S. President Donald Trump and Russian President Vladimir Putin agreed on Thursday to hold another summit on the Ukraine conflict. Trump said he would meet Russian President Putin in Hungary after a telephonic conversation with Putin on Thursday. Talking to media in Oval Office, the U.S. President said the call, the first with Putin since mid-August, was very productive, adding the teams from Washington and Moscow will meet next week. The Kremlin confirmed plans for the meeting, though neither side provided a date for when it would occur.
I would say within 2 weeks or so, pretty quick. Marco Rubio is going to be meeting with his counterpart, as you know, Lavrov, and they'll be meeting pretty soon. They're going to set up a time and a place very shortly. Maybe it's already set up. They've already spoken. And I thought it was a very good phone call. I thought very productive. But I'll be meeting with President Putin, and we'll make a determination. Tomorrow I'm meeting with President Zelensky, and I'll be telling him about the call.
Well, meanwhile, Kremlin said the Russian president told Trump that supplying U.S. Tomahawk cruise missiles to Ukraine would harm the peace process and damage U.S.-Russia ties. Kremlin aide Yuri Ushakov told reporters that a planned new summit between the two presidents will be preceded by a phone call between U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio and Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov in the coming days. He further added the Putin-Trump call took place at Russia's initiative. Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orbán posted on X saying the meeting was great news for the peace-loving people of the world, adding, "We are ready." In another post, Orbán stated that he had spoken to President Trump and preparations for the summit were underway. Also, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky hopes the momentum of the West Asia peace deal will help end the Ukraine conflict as he arrived in the United States on Thursday. Zelensky will meet U.S. President Trump on Friday, his third meeting since January. The subject of Tomahawk missiles is likely to be high on the agenda. The leaders exchanged phone calls last week discussing the possibility of the United States approving Tomahawk missiles for Ukraine to ramp up pressure on Russia. Trump and Zelensky last met at the White House in August, shortly after the American president met with Russian leader Vladimir Putin in Alaska. And the U.S. Chamber of Commerce has filed a legal challenge to the administration's $100,000 fee on H1B visa petitions. The U.S. Chamber of Commerce, in an official release on Thursday, argued that the new fee is unlawful and threatens the country's access to global talent. The statement reads, the new $100,000 visa fee will make it cost prohibitive for U.S. employers, especially startups and small and mid-sized businesses, to utilize the H1B program, which was created by Congress expressly to ensure that American businesses of all sizes can access the global talent they need to grow their operations in the U.S. It further stated that President Trump has embarked on an ambitious agenda of securing permanent pro-growth tax reforms, unleashing American energy, and unraveling the overregulation that has stifled growth. The Chamber has actively backed these proposals to attract more investment in America. To support this growth, our economy will require more workers, not fewer. And Venezuelan Vice President Delcy Rodriguez on Thursday denied a report that she had negotiated with the United States to oust President Nicolas Maduro. The United States charges Maduro, who is accused of stealing elections last year, of heading a drug cartel. President Donald Trump has deployed warships to the Caribbean as part of what he has described as an anti-drug trafficking operation. The U.S. forces have blown up at least 5 suspected drug boats in the Caribbean since early September, leaving 27 people dead. In a significant escalation, Trump indicated on Wednesday he had authorized covert CIA operations against Venezuela and was considering attacks on land against alleged drug cartels in the country. Well, Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro accused the Trump administration of attempting to facilitate a coup to overthrow him and warned the CIA against operating in Venezuela. His comments came after U.S. President Donald Trump confirmed that he had authorized CIA operations in Venezuela. Maduro compared Trump's actions in Venezuela as failed regime change conflicts in Afghanistan and Iraq and the CIA's attempted coups against previous administrations in Chile and Argentina. Well, the Trump administration has recently moved additional U.S. military assets into the region, has issued threats against the Maduro regime, and has undertaken at least 5 military strikes against civilian targets in international waters. And the U.S. military carried out a new strike on Thursday against a suspected drug vessel in the Caribbean. And in what is believed to be the first such case, there were survivors among the crew. The development raises new questions, including whether the U.S. military rendered aid to the survivors and whether they are now in U.S. military custody. Prior to Thursday's operation, U.S. military strikes against suspected drug boats off Venezuela killed at least 27 people, raising alarms among some legal experts and democratic lawmakers who question whether they adhere to the laws of war. Videos presented by the Trump administration of previous attacks showed vessels being completely destroyed, and there have been no prior accounts of survivors afterwards. And Madagascar's new military ruler, Colonel Michael Rajoelina, will be sworn in as president on Friday. The High Constitutional Court will perform the swearing-in ceremony of the new president. Colonel Rajoelina said earlier that the military had taken power and dissolved all institutions except the lower house of Parliament or National Assembly. He also said that a committee led by the military would rule for up to 2 years alongside a transitional government before organizing new elections. Also, Rajoelina also said he was open to talks with the African Union after it suspended the country's membership following the military coup. And United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres on Thursday condemned the unconstitutional change of government in Madagascar and called for the return to constitutional order and the rule of law.
The Secretary General condemns the unconstitutional change of government power in Madagascar and calls for the return to constitutional order and the rule of law. He takes note of the decision taken by the Peace and Security Committee of the African Union to immediately suspend the country from participation in all activities of the African Union, its organs and institutions, until constitutional order is restored in the country. The Secretary General encourages all Malagasy stakeholders, including the youth, to work together to address the underlying causes of instability in Madagascar. He reiterates the availability of the United Nations to support these national efforts towards the attainment of that goal in collaboration with the African Union and the Southern African Development Community and other international partners.
And moving on, in Ecuador, indigenous protesters have agreed to end demonstrations in Imbabura province following a deal with the government. The unrest was sparked by President Daniel Noboa's decision to cut fuel subsidies, leading to days of rallies. Ecuador's largest indigenous organization reported 1 death and over 100 injuries during the protest. The group announced the strike ends today, marking a turning point in the standoff. The agreement aims to ease tensions and restore calm in the region. And at least one person was killed and dozens of police officers injured in widespread protest overnight in Peru against President José Jerry, who assumed power just days ago. The protest, called by young Gen Z protesters, transport workers and civil groups, was the latest in a series of demonstrations against corruption and rising crime, which led to the dramatic midnight ouster of former President Dina Boluart last Thursday. Thousands of protesters amassed around the country, with hundreds clashing with the police outside Congress in Lima. Police fired tear gas while some protesters hurled fireworks, rocks and burning objects. President Jerry expressed regret over the death of the one person. He blamed the violence on delinquents who infiltrated a peaceful demonstration to sow chaos. And still to come on DD India News Now. White House to unveil list of Democrat programs targeted for closure amid ongoing government shutdown. Kenya to hold a state funeral for former Prime Minister Raila Odinga at Nyayo Stadium on Friday. And Prague's historic Old Town illuminated as 13th Signal Festival of Light begins.
Complex issues, hidden agendas, twists and turns, strategic games. We think all dots are linked, we just need to connect them. Join me every week as I connect the dots to unravel hidden designs in statecraft, mysteries and decode issues that matter to you. Watch Connecting the Dots with me at these times on DD India.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News. I'm Lipakshi Kuran, and moving on, at the IMF and the World Bank meetings in Washington, the G20 chaired this year by South Africa warned that while a global debt crisis remains contained, many low and middle income nations are still struggling under crushing financing cost. In its first standalone declaration on debt since the pandemic, the G20 pledged to strengthen its common framework for debt treatments, aimed for more transparency and greater voice for borrowing nations. But some debt relief activists said it fell short. With global debt at historic highs, the world's richest economies, including the US and China, vowed continued cooperation, but the call for decisive action still hangs unanswered. Also, the White House will announce a list of Democrat programs slated for closure on Friday. Now, Trump early on Tuesday said the ongoing government shutdown presents an opportunity to permanently eliminate what he called Democrat programs. Clarifying his remarks later, the president, as per the report, said the Democratic programs include things that we disagree with, though he did not specify which agencies or initiatives would be affected. Republican programs, he emphasized, would not be terminated. And in Washington, the government shutdown entered its 16th day on Thursday as Senate Democrats blocked a $852 billion defense funding bill to fund the Pentagon for a full year. Now, the vote, 50-44, fell short of the 60 needed to advance, deepening the political stalemate. Democrats insisted they would not approve defense spending without funding for vital programs like healthcare and housing. Democratic leader Chuck Schumer said they won't fund defense while Americans struggle with basic needs. Republicans fired back, accusing Democrats of playing politics at the expense of U.S. troops. Despite controlling Congress and the White House, Republicans lacked the votes to break the impasse. And a U.S. appeals court has struck down President Donald Trump's bid to send National Guard troops into Chicago. The administration claimed the deployment was vital to curb crime and protect federal agents amid rising unrest. But Illinois and Chicago fought back, arguing there was no rebellion to justify troops on city streets. On Thursday, a three-judge panel agreed, ruling the White House failed to show sufficient danger to national authority. The court declared that protests, even if loud or unruly, do not equal insurrection. The decision keeps federal troops out of Illinois and echoes similar challenges from Oregon and California, where states are pushing back against the Trump administration's extraordinary domestic military actions. And John Bolton, U.S. President Donald Trump's former national security advisor, was charged on Thursday in a sweeping indictment that accuses him of sharing sensitive government information with his wife and daughter while drafting a book. According to the Justice Department, Bolton's private notes included sensitive details from intelligence briefings and talks with foreign leaders. Prosecutors also revealed his personal email was later hacked by an Iranian-linked cyber group. Well, Bolton, once a fierce critic of President Trump, denies wrongdoing and vows to fight the charges, calling them politically driven. The indictment marks the third targeting of Trump's outspoken opponents in recent weeks, intensifying claims that the administration is weaponizing justice as part of its broader campaign of retribution against perceived enemies. And U.S. President Donald Trump promised on Thursday that the price of Novo Nordisk, a best-selling weight loss drug, would be lowered and that negotiations over price changes would be very swift. Speaking at a White House event on fertility treatment and drug cost, Trump insisted price of fat loss drug will be lowered. The announcement comes amid a soaring demand for GLP-1 drugs used to treat obesity and diabetes. Now, Novo Nordisk, which makes Ozempic for diabetes and Wegovy for weight loss, said it has engaged in talks with the administration but did not confirm Trump's price claims. Under Trump's plan, the price would drop from $1,300 to $150 per month. Officials, including Dr. Mehmet Oz, say negotiations are ongoing, leaving the final cost yet uncertain. And Donald Trump on Thursday announced a plan aimed at making in vitro fertilization more affordable, an initial step in a long-touted campaign promise. Trump said in Oval Office remarks that prices are going way down, way down. The Trump administration's announcement included a proposal to make some of those drugs available for patients to purchase directly from the manufacturers at discounted rates via the president's new website, Trump RX, starting in early 2026. Trump said the White House is proposing a so-called employee benefit option they say would encourage employers to offer workers coverage for IVF through a supplemental plan.
Here today to announce a historic victory for American women, mothers, and families with the actions I will outline this afternoon will dramatically slash the cost of IVF and the treatment and many of the most common fertility drugs for countless millions of Americans. Prices are going way down, way down.
And Kenyan Deputy President Kithure Kindiki on Thursday announced plans for a state funeral service for the late Prime Minister Raila Odinga, set to take place at Nyayo Stadium on Friday at 9 a.m. local time. The event will feature military honours, a sermon from the Anglican Church of Kenya, eulogies and speeches by Kenyan leaders and foreign dignitaries, followed by a public viewing of Odinga's remains to accommodate the mourners. Odinga, a major figure in Kenyan politics who served as Prime Minister and ran unsuccessfully for President 5 times, died on Wednesday aged 80 while undergoing medical treatment in India.
There will be a public viewing of the remains of the late Prime Minister Raila Odinga after that state event, and therefore those who want to continue mourning our departed leader have no cause to worry.
Well, 4 people were killed in Kenya's capital Nairobi on Thursday when security forces opened fire and released tear gas to disperse massive crowds mourning opposition leader Raila Odinga. Well, chaos erupted after thousands of supporters stormed the gates of the city's main stadium where Odinga's body lay in state. Gunfire echoed and tear gas turned scenes of mourning into panic. Earlier, the crowds had overwhelmed Nairobi's international airport, halting operations for 2 hours as President William Ruto and officials received Odinga's body with military honours. The unrest spread to Parliament grounds, where public viewing had first been planned. Once Prime Minister and a lifelong champion of democracy, Odinga inspired generations, his death now sparking grief, chaos and calls for calm across Kenya. And some global weather updates now. The Mexican Navy deployed multiple helicopters and ground crews to deliver supplies and clear debris in flood-ravaged areas where the death toll has reached 70, with 72 people still missing. In eastern Mexico, Poza Rica, one of the areas hardest hit by flooding, naval officers unloaded boxes of supplies from trucks and worked to remove debris from mud-choked streets. But survivors say the help isn't reaching everyone quickly enough. Due to the mishap, thousands of houses have been damaged or destroyed as fast-running water careered down streets, carrying cars, while highways were blocked with debris and electricity cut off. Well, also, a sudden hailstorm surprised residents in southern Bolivia, flooding streets and covering homes in ice. The storm struck the border city of Tarija, located over 1,800 meters above sea level, after temperatures soared past 30 degrees Celsius earlier in the day. Lasting around 30 minutes, the intense weather left locals sweeping hailstones from their homes. Bolivian media reports this is the 3rd such event in recent weeks, with 2 hailstorms also recorded in September. And a magnitude 6.1 earthquake jolted southern Philippines on Friday, a week after 2 powerful quakes hit the country. Well, according to the United States Geological Survey, the tremor struck near Dapa municipality in Surigao del Norte province at a depth of around 69 kilometers. There was no immediate reports of casualties or damage so far. Well, the latest earthquake came a week after two quakes of 7.4 and 6.7 magnitude shook the eastern section of the main Mindanao island, killing at least 8 people. These followed a magnitude 6.9 earthquake days earlier that killed 76 people and destroyed or damaged thousands of houses in Cebu province in central Philippines. And a union representing more than 3,200 striking workers of Boeing said it has filed an unfair labor practice charge against the U.S. plane maker with the National Labor Relations Board. Now, the International Association of Machinists and Aerospace Workers represent members who assemble fighter jets and munitions at Boeing's plants in the St. Louis area. The filing marks an escalation in an ongoing back and forth between the two sides as they fail to come to an agreement to end a strike that is now in its third month. The workers struck work on August 4th after rejecting a second offer from Boeing. They also rejected another proposal that included a 24% general wage increase over 5 years and a $4,000 ratification bonus. The members, however, voted 90% in favor of a 4-year contract proposal floated by the union that Boeing refused to consider. And it's been a year since British singer and One Direction star Liam Payne passed away at just 31. On the first anniversary of his death, fans gathered outside the Casa Sur Palomar Hotel in Buenos Aires, where Payne tragically died, to pay heartfelt tribute. Public figures also joined in remembering the beloved artist, whose voice and presence left a lasting mark on millions. The emotional gathering reflects Payne's enduring legacy and the deep connection fans continue to feel across the world. And now let's take a look at other stories making news around the world. In Venezuela, preparations are in full swing for the canonization of Jose Gregorio Hernandez, fondly known as the Doctor of the Poor. Devotees gathered in Guayaquil, Carabobo, as government agencies prepared his statue ahead of the Vatican ceremony on Sunday. Hernandez, celebrated for his compassion and dedication to the underprivileged, continues to inspire deep reverence among the Venezuelans. Town criers from across Australia gathered in Canberra for the annual Town Crier Championship, reviving the centuries-old tradition once used to spread news. Competitors battled strong winds and tough judging criteria, showcasing booming voices and precision-crafted cries to impress the panel. Prague's UNESCO-listed historic centre glows with colour and creativity as 13th edition of the Festival of Light opens to the public. The annual event features 17 dazzling installations, including video mapping on iconic landmarks and immersive interactive projections. Artists from across the globe have come together to turn the Czech capital into a vibrant canvas of light and motion. And still to come on DT India News Hour. Defence Minister Rajnath Singh to inaugurate HAL's new Tejas Mk1A and HTT-40 production lines in Nasik today. India and Central Asian nations pledge stronger regional security cooperation at third NSA meeting in Kyrgyzstan. And the countdown to Diwali begins. Homes, hearts and markets glow with festive spirit.
Faster, smarter, better. That's often the promise that comes with modern technology, but all of it comes at a risk.
To deal with this kind of mismatch, we have created a master plan based on population projections up to 2055.
The main reason for looking for dry areas is both an efficiency reason and an avoidance of corrosion.
We decided that this cannot go on forever. Something needs to be done. And we also were very certain that only technology option will be the best option, because human intervention has several limitations.
The big advantage is you don't have to go back to the start of the chain like mining iron ore.
Eisenerz des Anfangs.
You can reuse materials that have already been processed.
Welcome back. You're watching DT India News. I'm Lipakshi Kuran, and time now for a quick recap of the headlines. Israel and Hamas trade blame over violations of ceasefire deal. Hamas says committed to hand over all the bodies of the hostages, but some may be buried under the debris. Trump threatens action if killings continue in Gaza. Trump talks to Putin ahead of meet with Zelensky, touting progress in Russia-Ukraine peace talks to meet Putin in Hungary in next 2 weeks. U.S. Chamber of Commerce sues Trump administration over $100,000 H1B visa fee, terms it unlawful as it overrides provisions of the Immigration and Nationality Act. Madagascar coup leader Michael Rajoelina to sworn in as president as African Union suspends the island nation. UN condemns and urges return to constitutional order. Prime Minister Modi to meet visiting leaders from Sri Lanka and Egypt. Deliberations to focus on strengthening bilateral ties and investments. And moving on, in a major boost to India's air power and defence manufacturing capabilities, Defence Minister Rajnath Singh will inaugurate Hindustan Aeronautic Limited's newly established third production line for its light combat aircraft, the Tejas Mark 1A variant, at its Nasik facility. Well, the Defence Minister will also inaugurate the second production line for the Hindustan Turbo Trainer 40 basic trainer aircraft. Besides the inauguration, the occasion would be marked by the maiden flight of the first LCA Tejas Mk1A, the upgraded version of the indigenous light combat aircraft Tejas. And for more, we have Akshay Dongre joining us from Nashik. Well, Akshay, how will the new Tejas Mk1A and HTT 40 production lines at HAL Nashik enhance India's capacity for the indigenous aircraft manufacturing and also support the Indian Air Force's modernization goals under the Atmanirbhar Bharat initiative?
Lipakshi, as far as the Tejas Mark 1A is concerned, it has several upgrades over the earlier LCA Tejas, that is the light combat aircraft Tejas, and that includes more advanced avionics, advanced engines, advanced radars and other equipment that are embedded with the fighter aircraft. While LCA Tejas is a very, very modern aircraft, the LCA Mark 1A Tejas is several notches upgrade over the LCA Tejas that puts it directly in competition with some of the most advanced fighter aircraft around the world. The second thing is about the boost to the Atmanirbhar Bharat and Make in India as far as defense sector is concerned. So earlier there were two facilities that could produce LCA Mark 1A Tejas that could produce 8 aircraft per year. So two facilities could produce about 16 aircraft per year, but with the inauguration of the third facility, now India can in fact manufacture 24 Tejas Mark 1A per year. That is going to be quite essential as far as filling the gaps in the squadron strength is concerned in the Indian Air Force. With the MiG-21 phased out, LCA Mark 1A Tejas is going to replace the legacy aircraft and will provide a major boost required to the capacity and the capabilities of the Indian Air Force. And besides that, the HTT 40 a basic trainer aircraft is also going to provide further capacity building measures to the training facilities of the Indian Air Force. So all in all, this is a major boost and a significant rise in the Indian Air Force's not only manufacturing capacities but also the capabilities of the Indian Air Force fighter squadrons. As far as the first flight of Tejas Mark 1A is concerned, that is going to take place today here in Nasik as well.
All right, Akshay, in fact, if you could explain it for our viewers more clearly, that what are the key technological advancements in the Tejas Mk1A variant being showcased during its maiden flight especially, and how do they strengthen India's defense capabilities also, because Tejas Mk1A production is also increasing from 16 to 24 aircraft annually on the Indian Air Force's modernization plans?
Well, this is going to be a major boost, Lipakshi, because the Tejas Mark 1A has better radars, has more weapon loading capacities, has better speed, a better range, better operational capabilities. So an aircraft that is already quite capable has been made much more capable by the upgradation that have taken place in the Tejas Mark 1A. So naturally it is going to boost the capacities of the Indian Air Force.
All right. Thank you so much, Akshay, for all those details. And India and Central Asian nations reiterated their commitment to deepening regional security cooperation at the third meeting of the Secretariats of the Security Council. National Security Advisors in Kyrgyzstan, National Security Advisor Ajit Doval represented India at the meeting, joined by his counterparts from Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan and Uzbekistan, while Tajikistan was represented by the Deputy Secretary of its Security Council. Well, also, the NSAs reiterated the importance of regular dialogue in view of the changing nature of security challenges. They discussed ways to enhance cooperation in areas of countering terrorism, radicalization, extremism, and narcotics trafficking. Also, the leaders emphasized the significance of security and stability in Afghanistan for the region. They agreed to work closely with Afghanistan in addressing security challenges as well as in the areas of connectivity and economic development, which could form the basis of long-term stability. And the third meeting of the Secretaries of the Security Council and National Security Advisors was held on the basis of the consensus reached at the first India-Central Asia Summit on 27th of January 2022 to hold regular meetings at the level of Secretaries of the Security Council, National Security Advisors. The first meeting in this format was held on 6th of December 2022 in New Delhi, India, and the second meeting was held on 23rd of October 2023 in Astana, Kazakhstan. The third meeting was held in the backdrop of a successful fourth India-Central Asia Foreign Ministers meeting in New Delhi on the 6th of June 2025. And Sri Lankan Prime Minister Harini Amarasurya, who is on a three-day visit to India, scheduled to meet Prime Minister Narendra Modi in New Delhi today. Early on Thursday, External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar met visiting Sri Lankan Prime Minister Harini Amarasurya in the national capital. The leaders discussed India's continued support to Sri Lanka and strengthening our cooperation in education and capacity building. Well, during her three-day visit to India, Amarasurya also visited her alma mater, Hindu College, where she received a standing ovation from students and faculty. She recalled her college days, saying entering through the same gates after 3 decades felt nostalgic and admiration. The college has transformed into a vibrant institution with smart classrooms, advanced labs and thriving research initiatives, keeping pace with India's rapid growth. Well, our visit is focused on strengthening bilateral ties between India and Sri Lanka and enhancing collaboration in education and capacity building. And Egyptian Foreign Minister Dr. Badr Abdelati to meet Prime Minister Narendra Modi in New Delhi today. Early on Thursday, India's External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar held talks with Egyptian Foreign Minister Dr. Badr Abdelati. Both the leaders met for the first India-Egypt strategic dialogue in New Delhi. While delivering the opening remarks at this important dialogue, Minister Dr. Jaishankar termed this meeting as a milestone in India-Egypt ties, and since the elevation of our relationship to a level of a strategic partnership in 2023, cooperation in various domains has intensified.
Our meeting for the first India-Egypt strategic dialogue is a milestone in our ties, and since the elevation of our relationship to a level of a strategic partnership in 2023, we can see that cooperation in various domains have intensified. Our deliberations today provide an opportunity to take stock and set direction to realize the visions of our leaders.
Well, India hosted a three-day chiefs conclave for the United Nations troop contributing countries in Delhi. The event included a defense exhibition for shared capacity building to showcase indigenous products relevant to UN peacekeeping. Vishal Baristo reports for more.
External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar reaffirmed India's readiness to assume greater responsibilities in a reformed United Nations and a renewed multilateral order while addressing the UN troop contributing countries' chiefs conclave in New Delhi on Thursday. Highlighting India's long-standing peacekeeping role, rooted in its civilizational ethos, he called for collective and constructive efforts to shape a renewed vision for global peacekeeping.
India approaches peacekeeping from its civilizational ethos. We see the world as one family, a vision enshrined in the timeless phrase of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. This is not just cultural wisdom, but an outlook that anchors our worldview.
The three-day Chiefs Conclave of UN troop contributing countries also featured a defense exhibition showcasing India's technological prowess. From drones to artillery guns, over 30 Indian companies displayed more than 100 exhibits under the motto, Make in India, Make for the World. Many of these systems are already in service with UN peacekeeping missions.
This vehicle is more than 90% already indigenized in India. So we started this factory about close to 2 years back from now. The first supply was to Indian Army, 96 vehicles, which have already been deployed across eastern, western and northern borders of India. Post that, we have supplied 24 units which have been deployed in United Nations.
Indian companies are using AI for modern-day solutions. This includes remote-controlled vehicles that can be used in different terrains.
We have been supplying equipment to many countries, mostly in Africa, in Nigeria, Senegal, Sierra Leone. We are in talks with Uganda and Tanzania also. Then we have supplied our vehicles in the southeast in Thailand and also in some of the Middle East countries in GCC and SAARC. So we have our presence there.
The whole idea of this exhibition is to provide a foreign market for the Indian companies.
There's a lot of defense equipment which we are able to now design, develop and manufacture indigenously. So the aim is to showcase that equipment because we can help many of the other countries which are contributing their troops in UN missions who can utilize our equipment.
The exhibition also showcases India's growing strength in the defense sector and also highlights indigenous solutions for UN peacekeeping force.
With firing capability according to the NATO standards, this 159mm 39 caliber artillery gun is manufactured in India. India's private sector is fast coming up in the defense production, and it is not only this, they are also contributing in the UN peacekeeping missions. As you can see, these vehicles are also manufactured by a private Indian company because India believes that the world is a family and peace anywhere means peace everywhere. With cameraman Jagmohan in Delhi, this is Vishal Baristo for DD India.
Well, in Dhaka, the Indian High Commission marked the 135th death anniversary of Fakir Lalon Shah on Thursday with a special musical evening at the Liberation War Museum Auditorium. The Lalon Sandhya event celebrated Lalon's enduring message of unity, compassion and humanism, featuring performances by Chandana Majumdar, Kiran Chandra Roy and Tuntun Ball. Scholars and music enthusiasts attended while the High Commissioner highlighted cultural ties between India and Bangladesh and paid tribute to Farida Parveen for preserving Lalon's musical heritage. And India glows as Diwali preparations begin across the country. Let's take a look. In Ayodhya, decoration work has begun at the Sri Ram Janmabhoomi temple ahead of Deepotsav. The temple is being lit up with diyas and lights, symbolizing the victory of light over darkness as the city gears up for the grand celebration. A spectacular laser and light trial show at Ram Ki Paidi in Ayodhya wowed onlookers, creating excitement ahead of the Deepotsav celebrations on the 19th of October. Ayodhya is set to welcome a Ramayan-themed wax museum featuring lifelike models from Ram Lalla to Ravan. The museum showcases key Ramayan moments and will open to the public on the occasion of Deepotsav. In Rajasthan's Udaipur, Diwali celebrations have begun with grandeur as devotees performed Ganga Aarti and Mahakaleshwar Aarti on the occasion. The city glowed with lights and devotion, marking the start of the festive season. In Mathura, markets are buzzing with festive energy as people shop for Diwali decorations, lights and rangoli items. Despite high prices, the enthusiasm remains high, with families busy buying torans, flowers and Lakshmi Ganesh stickers to adorn their homes for the festival of lights. In West Bengal, potters are working tirelessly to make traditional clay diyas ahead of Diwali. Their handcrafted lamps not only light up homes, but also promote sustainable development by supporting eco-friendly practices in local artisans. In Tamil Nadu's Coimbatore, a chocolate maker has launched a unique Crackies chocolate this Diwali, featuring edible designs like snakes, chakras and flower pots, attracting buyers in India and overseas. And still to come on DD India News Hour. All right, time for a short break. We'll be back in a while.
There's so many invaluable artifacts that the British have taken from our country. They robbed us of our self-respect. They robbed us of our honor. Loot was never innocent. It was painful.
The word loot, that was stolen from India too.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News. I'm Lipak Shukuran, and on to some business news now. The new GST rates mark a major transformation in various sectors. People have expressed joy and gratitude to Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Union Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman vision. The CMD of Stick Travels, Subhash Goel, praises this development, saying this will improve impact on hospitality sector.
This will definitely help us in the tourism industry. It will make India product a little cheaper, and we are quite confident that this step is going to boost the economy, and tourism industry is one industry which is the largest employment generator, and we can fulfill Prime Minister's vision of making India one of the best tourism destinations in the whole world.
And some global market updates now. Wall Street stocks ended lower while gold prices surged as declining financial shares and simmering trade tensions between the United States and China dampened investor enthusiasm. All three major U.S. stock indexes reversed earlier gains to end the session in negative territory, while investors continue to send gold to new highs. European stocks advanced as investors took largely upbeat corporate earnings to heart amid easing political tensions. French blue chip shares advanced 1.4%. The dollar edged lower against the euro and the yen as market participants watched tariff negotiations and praised past dovish comments from Federal Reserve officials. And Asian shares tracked Wall Street lower, bonds extended gains, and gold hit a fresh record on Friday with signs of credit stress at US regional banks putting investors on the edge. MSCI's broadest index of Asia-Pacific shares outside Japan dropped by 0.9%, taking the week to negative territory. Japan's Nikkei also lost 1% as its banking index tumbled. Both Chinese blue chips and Hong Kong's Hang Seng also tumbled by 1.4%. But you're watching DT India News. Our time now for some sports news. India's top badminton player Lakshya Sen stunned world number 2 Anders Anton Sen to reach the quarterfinals of the Denmark Open badminton tournament in Odense. While number 21 Sen upset local favourite Anton Sen by 21-13, 21-14 score line. After conceding the first 2 points in the first game, Sen got on the scoreboard and never looked back as he dominated Anton Sen to comfortably clinch the opener. Anton Sen managed to keep pace with Sen at the start of the second game, but Sen seized control after the interval to bag the contest. This was Sen's third win in 8 matches against Anton Sen. In the men's doubles, Satvik Sairaj Rankireddy, Chirag Shetty also progressed to the semi-finals after a 21-19, 21-17 win over Chinese Taipei's Li Chien-hui and Yang Pyo Suhan. Satvik Chirag have extended their head-to-head records against the Chinese Taipei duo to 5-0. Meanwhile, Dhruv Kapila and Tanisha Kraste also advanced to the quarter-finals of the mixed doubles after receiving a walkover. And 3 Indian compound archers, Madhura Dhamangokar, Jyoti Surekha, Venom and Rishabh Yadav will participate in the Archery World Cup final in China. Well, the Indian archers will begin their campaign in Nanjing City on Saturday. Madhura Dhamangokar confirmed her participation at the tournament by winning the women's individual compound event at Shanghai. Meanwhile, Jyoti Surekha, Venom and Rishabh Yadav also teamed up to win the compound mixed team event at Auburndale earlier this year, qualified for the individual events through their respective rankings. 32 of the season's best archers will compete for top honours in the individual events. And India's Sports Minister Mansukh Mandavia announced that Khelo India University Games will take place in northwest state of Rajasthan later this year. The tournament will be held across 7 cities from 24th of November to 5th of December, where more than 5,000 athletes are expected to compete. The event will feature 23 medal sports and 1 demonstration sport. Beach volleyball, canoeing and kayaking and cycling have been introduced for the first time, while Kho-Kho will be a demonstration event. This will be the 5th edition of the Games. And India's star shooter Manu Fakir says the competition in Indian shooting is intense. In an exclusive conversation with DT India correspondent Narayan Singh, she emphasized that consistent hard work remains the key to success.
Manu Fakir needs no introduction. She won 2 medals in the Paris Olympics, and right now she is joining us. Manu, talking about winning the 2 medals at the Olympics. Is there any added pressure for the upcoming events? Already you are, we can say that winning at 2 medals at a single edition is exceptional.
I wouldn't say that I have additional pressure of anything, and it's just that if I work hard enough, I'll probably get another medal. So it depends on me how much I'm able to work hard, and for that I'll just honestly, I'm working really hard, and my team is really putting in a lot of efforts. My coach is Palsar, he's also putting in a lot of efforts. My parents are working really hard behind the scenes. So all I can do is try my best, and that I'm doing, rest assured. Baki, I am a kind of person who is like, work as hard as you can, give your best, and leave rest on God.
Talking about right now, the way things are happening in Indian shooting, if you take a look, there is a big, immense young talent in the Indian shooting. If you take a look recently in the Asian Championship, I think around 100 medals were won by India. Yes. And after that, in the Junior World Cup at the Carney Singh too, the performance was exceptional. Yeah. So what is the reason you find behind that your young talent are coming and our shooters are dominating at the world stage?
I think shooting as a sport has a huge potential in India. I've always believed that, and I'm really, really happy. It gives me immense joy to see that the young shooters are doing really well, and we are also trying our best to give them very good competition and all. So it's a very healthy environment. The shooting as shooting as a sport is really well. I've always given people the advice to, if you really want to try some sport, you can also try shooting, because we have no age categories, we have no weight limits, we have no height or any restrictions at all, we have no other sorts of problems in it. So it's a very, very holistic sport, I would say, and it's also fun. So I'm really happy that people are doing really well. We have gotten very good medals also in this year, as well as I'm sure we'll get many more medals next year. And the key is just to keep working hard.
So the way Manu said that there is a healthy competition in the Indian shooting, the way the young shooters are coming and giving a stiff challenge to the Olympic medalists like Manu, definitely it will give the more medal winners at the stage like Olympics to India. With camera person Rajesh Trikhi, Narayan Singh, DD India, Delhi.
All right, that's all for this edition of DD India News Hour, but let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on the DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS platforms. Scan the QR code on the screen to download now. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Lipakshi Khurana from all of us here in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India News Hour.